I grew up in Brooklyn Park and enlisted in the Army Reserve when I was 17, became a field medic because I didn't want to drive all the way to Rochester to be an MP. While in school, my mom started to realize that I was serious about becoming a police officer and said, okay, I'm okay with it, as long as you promise not to work for Minneapolis. So naturally, I applied for Minneapolis and got hired there, where I've spent the last 15 years. I've spent the last 15 years, well, to back up a step. I'm married. Been married to my wife, Melissa, for 17 years now. 12 years into the marriage, we got our surprise daughter. Total blessing. She's 5 years old, just started kindergarten this year, and is just loving life. And it's just so much fun to watch your kids grow up and see how they develop. But during my time in Minneapolis, I've been able to move around a lot. There's a lot of opportunities there, a lot of, I think more opportunities there than any other police department, and I've tried to take advantage of that by learning as many different parts of this police department and how policing works as possible. We've looked at a lot of different responses to crime, a lot of different philosophies, just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. A lot of stuff that we try doesn't work, a lot of stuff that we try does. As I look at Faribault, I never really saw myself leaving Minneapolis, but when I looked at what I saw as the issues that are developing here, or you've been dealing with, I feel like I'm uniquely qualified to deal with them. One of the biggest things that I've done is I put together the City of Minneapolis Problem Properties Unit. I was myself with a regulatory services manager and a housing inspector who tried to figure out a way to address the problems in the city, the problem addresses that are consuming the most resources. So we looked at it from a police perspective and a housing perspective, and ultimately we worked with the city to develop a stronger rental licensing ordinance. And through this, we're able to really work with the property owners to get them to comply with community standards by leveraging their rental license and saying, if you don't take care of your property, if you don't keep it looking nice, if you don't keep tenants in there that are law-abiding, then we're going to take an action against your rental license. With anywhere between 28 and 35% of the properties in Faribault being licensed for rental, that's a big challenge that I think a strong rental licensing ordinance, and then using the state nuisance statute against problem properties as well, that you can really address some of the crime issues here. The other challenge that I see is the narcotic issues. And all the people that I've talked to through town, there's at least a perception that there's a big narcotics problem here. My career started on the street doing street-level drug enforcement in the Phillips neighborhood of South Minneapolis, and then most recently I was assigned to the FBI Safe Streets Violent Gang Task Force, really using a narcotics nexus to get into the gangs and doing wiretaps and other advanced investigative techniques to try and address the gang problem. The third issue that I see that's really significant for this town that a lot of people talk about is the race issue. In Minneapolis, we have an extremely large Somali population, very large Hispanic and Latino population. We've been able to bridge great gaps with those communities and really quell a lot of the problems that we initially had with the clash of the cultures. And having a liaison to these communities has gone a long ways towards bridging that gap and being able to establish partnerships and a nice working relationship in those communities. So have a lot of experience working in what up until last year was the most diverse city in the state, but last year fell to third actually. My main focus is crime prevention. I think that if we don't prevent crime, we're not doing what should be our highest goal. So I'm big into crime prevention activities and educating the public on how to prevent themselves from becoming a victim of crime, and then responding to crime when it occurs with intelligence. We have a lot of intelligence software systems that we've been using in Minneapolis. There's a lot of stuff out there, ways to track crime, ways to track criminals, but really trying to create an intelligent response to crime here. That's something that I'm really passionate about. And then the third thing that I care a lot about is establishing relationships and building partnerships. The police department can't do it without the community. We have to work together with all the various groups of the community, and much of my career has been spent actually at the grassroots level, building relationships in the community, building block clubs, helping the residents understand and learn how to protect themselves and how to respond to the problems in the community. So that's a little bit about me. It looks like a great community, a great police department, and I look forward to working here.